Her moment on the podium presenting the trophies. This is the Superstock 600 grid. Andy Reid, Mason Law, Tom Oliver on the front. Dan Stamper, Alex Alicia and Kyle Ryde on the second row. As you see it now, Joe Collier, Ben Godfrey and James Lodge on the third row. The fourth row headed by Ben Curry from Kevin Van Leeuwen and James Edwards. And what a pole position this is from Andy Reid. He just went out, did a warm-up lap and then set a new fastest ever. The tall Irish boy on pole position on the FFX Yamaha dives to the front straight away and launches down towards Paddock Hill Bend. So great start then from Andrew Reid. The 20-year-old hits the front from pole position and everybody safely and handily through Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, the sad thing is, I think with Andy Reid's pace that he's shown already, they might not see which way. He's got a big crash in the background. There's about 4 riders off there from probably about mid-pack. We're seeing number...
Boys, just when I said you've got safely through the first turn without messing it up. I think
Ashley Buxton, one of them, for sure.
Ashley Buxton from Ipswich on the Buxton Racing Yamaha definitely was one of them at the front, not knowing anything about that chaos behind him. Andrew Reid leads the way. I think Mason Law might have got through into second place straight off the front row of the grid. It is Mason Law there. Kyle Ryde, the former 125 champ, is there in third place ahead of Alicia, Stamper, Curry, Collier, Lodge, Godfrey and the other Irish kid, Andrew Irwin.
I think the safety car's out, I think.
Sorry, Alan Irwin.
I think the safety car's out. Oh, there's somebody out there. That's a big steady. And the safety car... There's oil down there. The safety car flag was up, although Andy Reid and Mason Law are still cracking on.
So we got a problem here. There was the big pile up there, the second pile up at Druids Hill.
It's got to be a red flag. It has to be a red flag. It is a red flag.
The red flag out.
I just think there must have been oil from that first crash up at Druids. There must have been. So we see the first crash. This is from a different angle, and there's... Yeah, let's have a look. There's 4 riders off. There's nobody in that. Oh, no. Maybe I'm just looking at the bike still running, going back onto the track. It's quite steep down there up to the apex of Druids, and I'm just wondering if that's dribbled some oil or fuel or coolant onto the track, because the next time they came round there was another 4 or 5 riders off.
The boys come rolling back down pit lane then, and they'll have it all to do again. Number 67, Andy Reid off pole. Number 22, Mason Law running in second place, coming off second place on the grid. The lad from Benfleet in Essex on the Trick Moto Kawasaki. And those 2 lads... Really happy with their machinery, really happy with their qualifying. In fact, the FFX Yamaha boys were saying that Andrew Reid was really impressive because he'd come in thinking he'd gone fast enough, and then they said you could probably go a bit quicker, and let's see if we can get you on pole position. It's good to see that everybody's looking in reasonable shape there up at Druid.
Yeah,
but Andrew Reid went out, he did 1 sighting lap, and then he just pulverised the lap record and came back in and said, that'll do then, no one will go quicker than that.
Just look at that, there's more bikes up at Druids than there is in the bike park out the back of the circuit here.
It is a bit of a stake.
Yeah, you're talking about Andy Reid there. Andy Reid is a talented lad. We saw him in a 125 riding completely over the top, but you could see from what he was doing and how fast he was in the corners that he has a lot of talent. And he's Irish, which means he's not afraid and he'll get stuck in. That's just the way they are.
He did say... He did, and when I said it was good that we got you off the 125 then, because you're obviously enjoying the 600. He said, yes, but it was the 125 that got me the ride. People saw me and the performance I put in on it, and I said, well, that is certainly the case.
The ride he had at Assen last year on the 125 was either going to get him a ride in this class or another class, or locked up. It was close either way. We're going to see the second incident, and I think there must be some oil down there, because the way they were Look, one slides, two slides,
they all
and then
had moments.
So there is
Yeah.
actually. I think there was a blue bike from the original crash, went back onto the track and then dribbled something onto the track, because that is for sure something on the circuit. And I mean, the marshals have a difficult job. It's their job to see if there is anything on the circuit. However, they had that much work to do from the initial incident. 4 bikes down to be picked up, riders to be attended to, that you can forgive them for not spotting absolutely everything.
And we hadn't realised that both Reed and Law had massive moments at the front.
Everybody went through it, had moments, and then they started crashing in lumps.
And everybody's thankfully being picked up. We've another number we can check there is the number 61. That's Benjamin Curry from Melbourne, the Australian on the motor breakers Kawasaki, unfortunately out. So too number 80, Dan Stamper, who qualified so well on the Allied Racing Kawasaki. So some guys who had qualified really well and would be looking forward to good races are amongst the victims in those two multiple mishaps. So we'll restart with as many people. And I think one of the other ones who might have gone down is the former Supermoto star Malachi Mitchell Thomas, the kid on the Silicone Engineering Racing Kawasaki, who runs number 13. And I used to commentate on him, James, when he was racing at the top of his game as a young man in Supermoto. He's still only about 20, and he's already placed something like 5th in the European Supermoto Championship. And this is his first venture into road racing.
Well, what we do know is the Supermoto riders, top ones, generally don't go far wrong when they go road racing. It is a good grounding for them. They normally make good road races.
Other fallers we've got down there, James, number 96 Ryan Dixon from Folkestone is one of the guys there, as well as Mitchell Thomas. Number 24 Jordan Gilbert on the Team Haribo Star Mix Triumph was another man who went down. And 38. So too, besides the race, once again the 20-year-old Andy Reid will be on pole position. Alongside him the let me get this right, I do beg his pardon, Mason Law on the Trick Moto Kawasaki, and alongside him Tom Oliver's Yamaha. That's number 20 Tom Oliver on the Anglia Fixing TK Cope Moto Yamaha. You know, when you start something you wish you'd never done. Dan Stamper, number 80, will be on the Allied Racing bike. He heads up row 2 from Alex Aulisha and Kyle Ride. Third row will feature Joe Collier, who was very fast in Superstock 6 last year, Ben Godfrey and James Lodge. And the fourth row will be, there's quite a few young Australians around. 18-year-old Australian Ben Curry ahead of Kevin Van Leuven and James Edwards. Number 155, James Edwards from Dartford, very much a local boy, just up the road on the 3GI Technology Go Racing Developments Yamaha. There's number 67, Andrew Reid. Can he do it again? Just behind him, you could see number 11, Joe Collier from Leicester, now mounted on the B. Weiser Kawasaki under the judiciary of Tommy Hill, who we've just been talking to. The lights will go on first and then off. You can see there's a fair few gaps in that grid. So some people have got some very empty track to aim at. Here they go, 14 laps now. This shortened second running of the Pirelli National Superstock 600 Championship. A championship for young guns that first got into action back in 2001. Ben Wilson was the winner then. Yeah, it's Andy Reid who's made that start again, just like the first race. And like I say, he's possibly got the pace to clear off in this. Mason Law did go with him in the first start, though, albeit only for a couple of laps we got to see him. So off the start, your friend James Lodge has made a good start. Yeah, he's into 6th place on bike number 7. Collier's behind him, James Edwards, and the little Irwin lad, who's Andrew Irwin. I was getting his name mixed up earlier, I beg his pardon. Has got a bright start as well. So Irwin riding bike number 8 from Carrickfergus, the MWR Kawasaki, as they come sweeping across the finishing line. Check them out at the end of that first vital lap. And the leaders Reid. Law is second again. Ride third. Godfrey in fourth. James Lodge, Tom Oliver, Joe Collier, James Edwards, Andrew Irwin, and number 57, Levi Day. Yet another Australian on the CPE Motorsport Kawasaki. Yeah, I'm glad to see that whatever they've done to that oil up there, they've dressed it. People are going straight over it, and not a problem at all. So good job from the marshals up at Druids there. The latest addition, you might have just glimpsed there just outside the top 10, the latest addition to the Team Haribo Starmix Triumph team is none other than Charlie King, who was a strong competitor in the Triumph Triple Challenge last year, the tall, gangly youth from East Anglia.
Yeah, nice lad is Charlie from Great Yarmouth there. Long trip to get anywhere from there.
Crossing the line.
So perhaps Snetterton. Here's James Lodge, up the inside, fourth, I think, for him now.
So he might have got the better then of yet another of begging pardon, Ben Godfrey from Long Eaton on their Qingdao WK Kawasaki. So he's getting nudged back to 5th place by Lodgy.
Good run from Kyle Ride, you know, on the yellow and black bike there, 3rd. He's not done much with the bigger bikes, and he's certainly clicked with this Stock 600 class quicker than I thought he might.
Kyle Ride, bright-eyed young man from Derbyshire way. And he's getting hounded now by, it's Lodge, isn't it, number 7, I think, who's made a breakthrough, and of course both of them former 125 GP champions, James.
I was just going to say they know each other well from 125s. Also, Ride spends a little bit of time in Huddersfield because he goes out with the sister of Joe Irvine, who lives in Holmfirth.
Glad we got that.
Have you got all that?
Tell you what, Lodge is having to fight off. Who is that in the red and white? Is it Tom Oliver? Tom Oliver from Colchester on the Anglia Fixing TK Colt Motor Yamaha.
Oh, well,
is really having to trying to get the better
Yamaha.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I didn't realise. I set out on it before I realised what I'd let myself in for then. In the lead, Andrew Reid. 2nd place, Mason Law. And there, the bright yellow bike of Kyle Ride, number 97 from Jacksdale on the Pace Days Track Days Yamaha R6. He leads a clutch of lads who all want that 3rd place off him. And as they come charging down the Brabham Straight, he's got plenty of pace in a straight line, Kyle Ride, because James Lodge is still a couple of bike lengths short of trying to launch an assault as they go down Paddock Hill. Yeah,
he might be launching an assault up to Druids now. We see number 7 going up the inside of the asset, and Lodge through into 3rd place now. Nice move, clean enough.
Joe Collier set the fastest lap, 48.0. So Joe Collier, who's currently in 6th place, the latest acquisition by the Team Haribo Starmix crew, is putting the pressure on this lot. He's now almost become part of that battle, but he needs to make a move quickly, of course, because we're on the 5th lap of only 14.
Yeah, with these lads, it's still plenty of time to do a bit of damage, I'll tell you. They don't need much of an excuse.
Dropping down Paddock Hill Bend. Here comes number 11. Oh, that was a close call. Oh, is that Collier? I beg your pardon. Collier has moved from Haribo Starmix Triumph onto the Be Wiser Kawasaki. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So I reckon Tommy Hill's taught him moves like that. So Joe Collier, who was really unlucky, actually, because he completely missed his breaking point into the hairpin at Knock Hill last season and got taken out of a couple of rounds as a kind of reprimand for his misbehaviour, because he fetched down one of the lads in front of him, and that obviously dented his championship chances. He ended up 4th in the Superstock 600 series. There he is, number 11 on the green Be Wiser Kawasaki.
Yeah,
he's now right behind Kyle Reid.
Kyle Ride, yeah.
Kyle Ride, I beg your pardon.
Reid, Ride, Potato, Patata.
Andy Reid looks pretty comfortable at the front. He set a fastest lap of 48.2, and he's consistently in the 48.2s, James.
Yeah.
I'm just checking out the lap record is, believe it or not, 47.561. The track was definitely running faster last year.
And your man Collier sliced underneath Kyle Ride up into Druids there just to take 4th.
And ahead of him in some impressive riding going. Seems just comfortably able to hold that advantage, but this is a big scrap going on behind, and Mason Law now has James Lodge for company. Yeah,
we're going to say James Lodge is going to have to get going, because I don't think Collier's going to waste much time getting on the back wheel of him.
James Lodge, 24 years old now, the former chemistry student from the University of Manchester, and that was a snaking move there from number 11 Joe Collier. And it's is it Mason Law who's been demoted a little bit, or is he still up there in 2nd place? There's so much squabbling going on. Fastest lap, James Lodge, 48.008.
Yeah, James Lodge, you're right, he did graduate with honours. Very, very intelligent lad is James. Yet to find a job, though. Get off your backside, James, and do some work.
He describes himself as a sales agent.
No, he's actually, yeah,
he's working with vague.
He's working with his brother. He's doing. I know that. I'm just taking him. I know him that well. We go out for a curry about every couple of weeks with him and his uncles and all the rest of the Lodge family. Good racing family, I've got to say.
Across the line to complete 8 laps. Andy Reid leads the way, and then it's Lodge. Law, Collier, Ride, Oliver, Godfrey, Van Leeuwen, Irwin and Day rounding out the top 10. So Andy Reid leading it. This is what's going on behind him, with Mason Law now feeling the hot breath of Joe Collier on his neck. Collier tries to get the drive down the hill to Graham Hill. Yeah, Meanwhile, Law is focused on trying to get back past Lodge. Yeah, Mason Law needs to... I mean, he had a little bit of a go there. It's so easy down into Graham Hill to... across the front of you. It's not the best place, not the easiest place to pass. I guess in this class you've got to go where you can. Those two in picture there, James, interestingly. Mason Law, of course, is being very much mentored by the double World Supersport champion Andrew Pitt, and right behind him, Joe Collier, now being attended to by Tommy Hill. A variety of lines over the top of the hill there, James. What was I asked Neil McKenzie what his favourite line was through Paddock Hill Bend, and he said upright and on 2 wheels usually was the only one he could regularly take. Yeah, he normally was Mr. McKenzie. I've got to say, he didn't go upside down too many times. Andrew Reid in front, he's on a Yamaha. The rest of the pack behind, Kawasaki mounted. They just clipped 1/10 of a second off him on the last lap, James. I don't know whether Andrew is just kind of relaxing a little too much. He's not the sort of rider you would expect to, but the gap is shrinking. Lodge is moving towards him, and he's got a bit of time. Just have a look at Lodge's line, especially round clearways over the start and finish. It's very wide. You tend to find the people who cut the teeth on the 125s and the smaller bikes in the old days, 250, 2-stroke GP class, tend to have wider lines coming out and carry a little bit more corner speed out of the corners. You cannot do that when you get onto the big power classes like the superbikes, because if the bike's on its side, you can't use the power you've got. You've got to sit him up and get him going. Lodge is the first man under 48, and he's definitely catching. That was a 47.99, 48.36 for Reid, so he chopped a fair amount off the Ulsterman's advantage. On the 11th of 14 laps, suddenly this race has come to life. Yeah, and Lodge is dragging Mason Law and Collier with him as well. They've raised the game a little bit. That's a wonderful turn. How many lines can you take? About 44 assorted lines through Clearways and the Clark Curve. And now, 3 laps to go. Yeah, and you see that Lodge thought he was close there in second to Reid, the leader, because he was trying to get in the slipstream. And if you're a little bit further back than that, you wouldn't even try. You'd go dead straight. So he does feel like he's got a chance, I think. What do you think's caused this, Jim? What I mean is, well, why should Reid, who looked so comfortable in the early stages, suddenly find that he's got far too much company? Well, I don't know. I mean, loads of things come into it. Tyres. I mean, as far as Reid has gone this weekend, I didn't really see, I don't want to say it, but I didn't see anybody staying with him. The other thing I will say is Reid, if he comes down to a last lap move, is super aggressive, and there is a real big difference in lines there. Lodge went a little bit wide there in second, but Reid has got quite a tight line onto the start and finish straight. Onto the penultimate lap there. Andrew Reid, sporting his brand new Scott Leathers, leads the way on the FFX Yamaha. 47.885 second lap for Joe Collier there, number 11, running in 4th place. Well, I'll tell you what, if James Lodge in second he's going to do anything about winning this race, he needs to do it now, because they've got this half lap and 1 more left. He's not going to get much opportunity to have a go at Reid. Probably, I guess, the biggest opportunities tend to be Paddock Hill and up Halewood Hill into Druids. That is the 2 places. Well spotted, Jack. That's where you... Oh, he's not waiting for that. No. He sits Andrew Reid up. Well, and that's cost Reid dear, because as he comes round, he suddenly finds he's got Mason Law underneath him, and that's put him from 1st to 3rd in the space of 200 metres. The Ulsterman suddenly is in real trouble of losing his rostrum place. Lodge defends now. He's got Mason Law for company. Mason's going to have a look at this up the inside into Druids. Has he got the pace? He hasn't. And that's a big opportunity lost, because you don't get many places to overtake easily around here. Mason's the proper Superstock600 scrap going on here. It's now Lodge versus Law, Reid versus Collier. Collier gets underneath Andrew Reid. Reid elbows him and knees him aside as they go into the Cooper Straight, desperately hanging on to that 3rd place. Meanwhile, James Lodge. Is he going to take
He's going to do it. He's got to do it.
Looks like he's going to. Collier, I think, has nabbed third place. And as they surge out of the Clark curve, James Lodge is going to take. Is he?
He is.
Across the line. Lodge takes it by half a bike from Mason Law. And third place went to Collier. Collier nabbed third place off the desperately unlucky Andy Reid in fourth. Kyle Ride fifth. Oliver in sixth place. What a ride by James Lodge.
It was a brilliant ride. I don't like to kind of, big up my mates, but he really had a good ride there, did James? Proud of him.
And I've got a feeling that is the first race win for James Lodge in this category since he moved into the National Superstock600. He's done 3 seasons there, and I don't think he's won before now.
That's Lodge's missus in the silly lycra suit there.
So James Lodge, who was 5th in the Superstock600s last year with 2nd place at Cadwell, 4 times 3rd, finally wins here at Brands Indy on his Kawasaki ahead of Mason Law and Joe Collier. Great scrap. Andrew Reid leads the 3 Yamahas, Kyle Reid and Tom Oliver. Kyle Ride, I beg his pardon, and Tom Oliver, 4th, 5th and 6th. Ben Godfrey, Keith Van Leeuwen, Levi Day and Andrew Irvin fill out that top 10 ahead of Charlie King on the Haribo Star Mix Triumph, Nick Anderson, and then there's Perrin Edwards and Taron McKenzie nicks that last point ahead of Wigley, Wakefield, Philp, Mutton and Keane, who sound like a fine batch of solicitors. So that was the National Superstock 600cc Championship. James Lodge leads the championship table on 25 points ahead of Mason Law on 20 and Joe Collier on 16, Andrew Reid on 13, Kyle Ride on 11, Tom Oliver on 10 ahead of Ben Godfrey, Keith Van Leeuwen, Levi Day and Andrew Irvin. And just outside the top 10 we have 5 points for Charlie King, 4 for Nick Anderson.